Welcome back to The Explainer. If you're a focused learner who loves breaking down massive industry shifts into concepts that actually make sense, well, you are definitely in the right place. Today, we're unpacking a literal earth-shaking paradigm shift in the AI industry. I mean, for the last 3 years, pretty much everyone thought the ultimate prize was the model, that whoever had the smartest neural weights was just going to take all the value. But as we're about to see, the real power has completely shifted. Okay, let's dive into this. $60 billion. Just let that sink in for a second. In June of 2026, SpaceX wrote a check for that massive amount to acquire a coding tool called Cursor. But here's the absolutely crazy part. They didn't buy a data center. They didn't buy some new cutting-edge frontier model. They bought an interface. So the crucial question we have to ask is why? Why on earth would SpaceX, a giant that literally already possesses vast compute clusters, its own research labs and frontier models, look at its entire tech stack and decide the missing, incredibly expensive piece was essentially just a door?
Section 1, the $60 billion door.
You know, what's truly fascinating here is what Cursor actually didn't build. Founded by a really small team at AnySphere, they basically just rented out other companies' AI models. They didn't build the engine, they built the dashboard. But because that dashboard became the surface where developers actually live and type all day long, they hit roughly $4 billion in annualized revenue. They turned down acquisition attempts from OpenAI twice. They rebuffed Microsoft. When SpaceX finally bought them, they weren't buying the model, they were buying the developer workspace, the incredibly rich data streaming off of it, and most importantly, the routing power.
Section 2. When models become plumbing.
We are seeing a massive structural split right now between the substrate and the surface. On one hand, you have the substrate, the physical AI models and the infrastructure, and it is completely commoditizing. H100 GPU rental rates are actually dropping by 60 to 75%. Capable open-source weights are literally only months behind the frontier models. So the substrate is sliding toward commodity. But the surface, that lightweight application layer that the human actually touches, that is exploding in value.
And the reason why is that the interface captures 4 massive levers. First up, the default. Let's be real, most people just use whatever tool is directly in front of them. Second, the habit. The app you open every single morning completely owns your attention and your switching cost. Third, the data feedback loop. Every query, every single click, every correction you make flows right back to the interface owner, not the underlying model maker. And fourth, the routing. Just the sheer power to send user demand to a favored model and completely starve rivals.
This thought really perfectly encapsulates the reality we're moving into. Think about the water in your house, right? The massive, complex reservoir systems and the pipes. They are incredibly expensive to build and maintain, but at the end of the day, they're just plumbing. The value, the control, the actual thing you interact with is the faucet. If you own the door, you control what flows through it.
Section 3. The war for the browser.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly why the previously boring web browser is suddenly an explosive battlefield. The interface dictates the model. If you use OpenAI's Atlas browser, your queries are routed to OpenAI's models. If you use Perplexity's Comet, you get routed to the Perplexity stack. Google uses Chrome to route to Gemini. This isn't just about giving you a better way to read web pages, it's about making absolutely sure these companies don't have to depend on a rival to reach you. Own the door and you own the routing. The speed of the shift has been honestly staggering. In October 2025, OpenAI ships Atlas, which was so aptly described as ChatGPT with hands, an agent that actually takes action on pages rather than just summarizing them for you. By late 2025, the browser company's Arc sells to Atlassian for $610 million. And stepping into 2026, the absolute giants, Google and Microsoft, are hard-coding their interfaces as OS-level defaults. Now, currently, the standalone numbers for these AI-native browsers might seem kind of small. We're looking at maybe 10 to 15 million monthly users for Atlas, 3 to 5 million for Comet, but make no mistake, these numbers are a ticking time bomb. The moment Apple, Google, or Microsoft completely flip the switch on their OS-level defaults, those built-in interfaces are going to instantly dwarf these standalone numbers just through sheer distribution power.
Section 4. Who controls the transaction?
This is where the friction really starts. One security firm measured an explosive 6,900% rise in agent requests between mid-2025 and 2026. Over just one single Black Friday weekend, agentic shopping, which means AI agents actually buying things on behalf of humans, surged roughly 145%. We are literally watching the open web rapidly transform into back-end infrastructure for front-end AI agents.
And naturally, that brings us to the inevitable clash. In January 2026, Amazon sued Perplexity over Comet's automated shopping capabilities. Now, to be clear, we are exploring this objectively as an incredibly important test case for the industry. We're not taking sides here. It's just fascinating because we are watching the very architecture of the internet be renegotiated in real time. Amazon is fighting to control whether someone else's agent can automatically transact inside its digital store.
So Biggs' ultimate question: when the interface sits between every user and the website, who really holds the power? Is it the store that holds the inventory? Is it the agent conducting the task? Or is it the surface owner who commanded the agent in the very first place? The door isn't just where users enter anymore. The door is where every other business on the internet now has to ask for permission.
Section 5. The most winnable choke point.
If we break down the hierarchy of who actually holds the door, you see a lot of overlap. At the very top, you have the device and OS owners, like Apple and Google, who hold the ultimate, almost insurmountable distribution advantage. Right below them are the AI-native interfaces racing to build deep, unbreakable daily habits. But right underneath that, you have the application layer, tools like Cursor, tools that people basically live inside all day.
So the crucial takeaway here, especially if you're building in the space, is this. You cannot simply bootstrap a gigawatt power plant. You definitely can't easily fund a 555,000 GPU compute cluster, but a small team absolutely can still build the door. Cursor was just a handful of founders building on other people's rented models, and they created a surface people loved so much it was eventually valued at $60 billion. Owning a specific, high-value interface is without a doubt the most actionable, winnable choke point in the entire AI stack.
And I think this brings our exploration beautifully full circle. If you are building on top of AI right now, your strategic center of gravity is not the underlying intelligence. The intelligence is just the plumbing. It's the surface. Own the interface. Own the user relationship. Be present on more than one surface, and whatever you do, never let another platform's default be your only way to reach your audience. You never own the model. You might still own the door.
But of course, power plants, massive GPU clusters, category-defining interfaces, they all share one single, massive prerequisite. Someone actually has to pay for them. So what happens to this entire intricate choke point structure if the money ever stops circulating? Who is actually funding all of this building? Well, that is the ultimate question, and we are going to unpack that massive financial engine next time in Part 6. Until then, keep learning, keep analyzing, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.